Because obviously, if he's gonna stay here, right, you guys aren't gonna be here to consult him. So we gotta see.
Well, no, I was gonna show you his commands.
And that's like I'm sure his commands are great. I'm more interested in seeing if he can relax, because there's a lot of issues going on with him right now, behaviorally.
Right.
And that's something like, if he's gonna get rehomed, being completely transparent, we have to take into account on how he's gonna be with other people.
Right.
Commands and obedience and everything else that can be taught and that can be bonding stage, but he's got to understand how to kind of, not everybody is as patient as you guys are, right? There's, we got to see how he's going to be when somebody brand new takes the reins and takes the leash and is going to open their homes to him.
Right.
As much as you guys love him, he still beat you up a couple times, right? And
yeah, you know what? I love him. He's the sweetest dog in the world, but I know that we can't keep him because of that behavior.
Yeah. And so that's where it's like, in the world of rescue, being completely honest, if you guys have that much patience for him to go through what he showed you, not everybody's going to have that same patience.
Oh no, we were big on the first time with
Exactly. And so I just want to kind of see how he is, because if he can settle down and figure out himself just to kind of lay down and not freak out, then we've got something that we can actually help rehabilitate, right?
Okay.
And that's where, he might be able to stay here, but here is a very stressful environment. There's 40 or 50 dogs on any given day.
Okay.
And so it's a lot different than just being at home, right?
We did take him to the dog park a fair amount. I'll say this, when he was younger, because we had this year with all this rain, we didn't go as much as we would normally. But he has no problem. We've taken him to the dog park many times with other dogs. He runs around and plays. Of course, the first time he went there, he was a little fearful. Like I've seen almost every dog. Their first trip to the dog park is like, what's going on with all these dogs?
But still, he's attacked our other dog twice now. Where he's
over
that was over the food,
Okay.
the food issue, yeah.
So the thing is, here, he's gonna be in here with dogs like him. You know what I mean? Like with his same demeanor. Right. Every dog in here is in here because they have some issue.
Yeah.
Here for training, for that reason. Right.
No, I worked with another rescue program we used to foster and do all that. So all the dogs we had issues. This is the first time we've ever brought one back. That's never happened before.
Okay. Well, my point was more, like David said, you guys are not going to be here.
Right.
So he doesn't know us. We want to tread carefully on how he's going to be, because the last thing we want is for him to have a nervous breakdown.
Right.
Because he doesn't know how to relax.
Right.
So that's why David's saying the obedience is good, that he knows how to do a couple things, but obedience is not going to help him mentally. Right? It's not going to do it emotionally. It's not going to do anything for him. So and more than likely, even if we wanted to do his obedience, he's probably not going to listen because he's not.
He's stressed out right now.
Right. So we just want to make sure that when he's staying here, that we know how to maybe make whatever accommodation we need to make with him. Right. But again, it's going to be really tough for him, just because, like I said, every dog in here is not a friendly dog.
Right.
Even if he was great with other dogs and he never had those issues, that's just more, icing on the cake that he attacked another dog and all that stuff. Yeah. Right. But even if he was great, it's still stressful for them because they don't know these dogs.
Right.
They've never been here.
And he's not going to be climbing on a bed or a couch anymore, so. He's not used to being in a crate. He only goes in the crate if we're going to the store. So I understand that this is going to be a much different.
Actually, it was really good that we got it. He was, in the beginning, he did spend a lot more time in the crate.
Does this mean he's calming down?
Mm-hmm. He's trying to.
Okay, so this is good.
It's a good sign. And that's all I want, right? It's for him. Like, we often mask the behaviors that we want him to do by making him do it. But he's not really good at it, right? Or else he wouldn't have done a lot of these things why he's here. If he was good at it, we wouldn't be sitting here together in a room. So we have to see where he is mentally.
Okay.
Where, like, can you calm down? If you can, great. Let's work on that, right? Before we start to, you know, make you do the things that we typically want the dogs to do, right? He's got to learn to trust us first, but in order for him to do so, he has to unwind himself. He has to decompress, right? And that's where it's like, you know, if we try to hold their hands all the time, we're not going to be able to fix the issues that, you know, we want to fix, right? And this is just we're just the in-between, right? We're just the boarding facility that's here to, you know, help give our input, but we're gonna watch him regardless. It's just, I'm more concerned about the family that's interested in taking him on, right? He is a big dog. He's got a lot of livestock already in him, right? So genetically, we can't get away from it, but then we also have to understand what we have to do in order to work him through, right? For him to have the best chance at life. Like, you know, we can sit here and say all these positive things about him, but that doesn't take away that he still has some issues that he has to deal with.
That's why we're here.
You know, and that's the reality of, you know, exactly why we're here. That's the reality of, like, what can we do to help you so you don't come back here, or you don't, so you can have a good life, right? You know, and that's where it's like, you know, for one reason or another, however he reacted and why he reacted and how he resource guarded and all that stuff, like, that's something that, like, you know, a lot of that behavior is going to be able to tell us through his mental capacity and what he's able to endure and go through and how he can settle down, and then build that trust and build that foundation and lead him into the way and set the expectations that we want him to learn how to be able to survive in our home or in our society, right? As a dog, it's survival of the fittest. Right. But you notice how his behavior, where he's backing up, it's not necessarily what's going on in this room. He's picking up all the noises from everywhere else that's around, right?
Oh yeah, he does that.
Even at home, all the other noises scare him usually. To me, he seems a little skittish.
The thing is, he doesn't know how to be on his own. He doesn't know how to do it without having someone, you know, baby.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. He can't be outside by himself, or he doesn't like to be outside by himself.
He does. If he goes in the backyard, or we have a cable in the front, if you put him on the cable in the front or let him loose in the backyard, he just barks. If someone goes with him.
What I'm saying though is, emotionally, he doesn't know how to just relax.
Okay.
Right? Without someone petting him.
Right.
And the thing is, when you're in a situation like you guys are gonna leave him here, right? It's an important thing for a dog to know how to emotionally be independent.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, I get you. Okay.
Right. And so the thing is, for us, that's the most important thing, is to build his confidence enough that he knows how to do it even if nobody's there.
Right.
Right? Because you can't take him everywhere you go. As much as I would love to take my dog everywhere,
No, you can't, right.
there's a lot of places that they're not allowed. Right? You know, and again, everybody's not going to be, especially people that don't know him, they're not going to be willing to baby him and, you know, risk getting bit and all that stuff. So he has to learn how to do it on his own. That's why if you notice, David's only using attention on the leash when the dog goes out, when the dog settles. Right? We're not telling him anything. We're not cueing him. We're not doing any of that because we want to see what he's going to do by himself. Right? So at home, when he's being anxious, we're always petting him and telling him it's okay. We're just making it worse. We're making it worse because, you know, you think about it, like all the obedience that you taught him, you know, what do you do? When he does a good job, what do you do? Good boy. You pet him or you give him a treat or whatever, right? So he's learned how to, okay, this is how I communicate. When they are petting me, that means I did something good. So he's freaking out and we're petting him. he knows that, oh, this is how I get rewarded. So he's gonna keep doing it. He's gonna get worse over time.
I love, the dogs have trained me before, because I call them outside and they come in,
Right.
they get a treat, so they'll do the in and out.
Right.
So they actually had trained me at one point, it's like, oh, no.
So they're gonna fight and fight and fight and fight until they don't have a choice but to relax, right? And that's why he'll relax for a second, then he'll fight, right? And notice he's just fighting harder and harder every single time, right? And to him, it's like, well, if that didn't work, if that little light pulling didn't work, I'm gonna try as much as I can, right? And what happens over time is they just give up and they learn that, well, that's not gonna work, so they stop doing it.
Right.
But it's a lot. It's a lot of letting them kind of figure it out on their own, right? Good point.
Handsome guy though, a big guy.
So Diana swore that we got there was no lab in him. But then when we did a photo shoot with him and the rest of the other puppies,
Yeah.
some other puppies, and a couple of them look just like labs.
Two.
There's one that looks like a lab and he has a one blue
Yeah.
eye. So there's some border collie or husky in there too.
Yeah.
Along with the
I
lab.
would have sworn there was no lab in him until I saw his siblings.
Yeah, when you see them, you go, okay, there's lab in this somewhere, for sure.
Definitely doesn't have the lab temperament.
His feet are pretty webbed too. I don't think Pyrenees are really ones that have webbed feet, but the labs definitely are.
Yeah.
And of course, she's got that little bit of a yellow tint here and there.
How much does he eat per day?
We've kind of
It's
just,
kind of been, well, varies. We've been giving him a little more lately.
we've been letting him
With
eat
that-
until he stops eating since the last bite. We just lock him in the crate, give him his bowl and let him eat till he's,
Done.
yeah.
Yeah, and he'll stop. He got a little confused the first time we gave him more food than he would eat. About, okay, what do I do now as far as
He still
guarding
doesn't.
it? He's a little, confused, especially the first time.
He wants to
but-
protect that food.
Yeah.
So at the same time, like I said, we were still able to take the bowl away without. It's kind of odd. Like I said, we thought we had it licked for a while, where we could take it away from him very easily and all that, and give it back, whatever, or he wouldn't guard. But then he just kind of went backward for some reason.
To answer the question, it was probably about 2 cups of food.
Okay. It's not too much.
No, I think it's more than that. It's what you put in the bowl.
I put about 3 or 4 cups in the bowl and he eats usually about a half of it.
Mhm.
I only know put that many in the bowl. I mean, it's the first time.
All right. Well. Usually, how does your program work, Chris, in terms of like dogs reporting? Is it just looking for a foster or?
Well, I wanted to get your opinion. Like if he can be rehabilitated, considering the bites, and then your recommendation, and then you'd have to put him in. If like what he would need, an experienced foster or professional training.
Definitely, I would go with professional training first. But again, the training is only going to work if the people are going to follow through. If you go with, like, if professional training is not the first route to go, I would definitely find a very experienced foster. Someone that reads body language very well and that has the time to be able to allow him to decompress the way that we want him to, right? Just to kind of out-stubborn him.
Right.
Meaning that, like, you know, he's got to earn everything. He's got to just learn how we want him to be. And a lot of the times it's just doing what we're doing now. Waiting for him to relax and then marking behavior that we want and rewarding him on that. Eventually, like, if he does this long enough, what tends to happen is they'll tire themselves out mentally. This is where a lot of that mental stimulation is, because he's going against all his impulses. He's so used to somebody petting him or interacting with him or making him do something or allowing him to go out and do this and do that. This is completely different, right? Like, the whole time I haven't really paid attention to him at all. It's just kind of...
Well, we do a kind of similar thing. I don't know if it's exactly the same way, but when we take them to the dog park,
I mean...
they know they're going. What I'm saying is they have to calm down and lay down and relax before we'll take them. Kind of like, in a way, similar to what you're doing here.
The thing is, anytime people do that with the food or the dog park or anything, what happens is you just frustrate the dog more, right? Because, like, how do you know he's really calm? If he's sitting there, he's not really calm. You know what I mean? So there's a difference between, you know, being in a down and being relaxed. I know a lot of dogs that can down, very few of them. That guy goes into a down right now, but he's not really relaxed.
Yeah,
So that's the difference. Is for us, is more, are you really relaxed, right? If I'm working with behavior, I have to mark good behaviors and not good obedience. Make sense? So if he goes into a down and he goes to sleep, then I know that's a dog that's really rough. We're gonna reward that. If he goes in a down, he puts his head down, he stops panning, and he's really relaxed, then we can reward that, right? But that's the difference between, you know, like in theory, right? You would think that, oh, well, he went to a down in front of the dog park, so he's good, right? But he's still sitting and trembling, and he's still super excited. Then he's not really calm.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what you're talking about. When we have them before we leave the house, I have them lay down, but until they're calm. Same kind of thing.
Okay.
That I don't use that with everything, but that's the one thing to do. He's pretty calm in his crate. Yeah, I do most of the
I
training.
got no respect.
But he is pretty calm in his crate. Just so you know.
But I have a question about this. Last one was over an eyeglass wipe, the kind that you peel out and you take the wet one. I mean, it was so random, so out of the blue.
Yeah, he's never done
Is
it over
that, I
anything.
mean, what kind of behavior?
So physically, we can see his eyeglass wipe, right? And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it's like, it could be because of the eyeglass wipe and what we see as being the eyeglass wipe, because that's what we're doing at that time. But if you notice him, he's paying attention to everything else. If he's barking at Cruz, we're thinking, oh, he's just barking at him.
Right.
But it's the buildup, and now he's the one that's like different that comes in. So it could be a lot of things leading up to that in that situation. We don't know because we weren't there.
Right.
So it could be like the easiest thing to put a definition to, because we always want the answer to everything.
Right.
Resource card. That's a very, you know, that's a
But it
very.
was just so out of the blue because it was a normal work day. I'm working, he's sleeping on the bed. All of a sudden I hear him take something and I'm looking at something in his mouth, and normally you can just open his mouth and take it out. And this time he wouldn't, but once it was halfway out of his mouth, the other thing you can normally just grab it and tell him leave it, and he drops it, and this time it was not that.
But the thing is too, you have to understand that, again, if he already bit you and he knows that
No, that was the first time he bit me.
it's the same. Like I said, I'm sure the resource guarding for him didn't start with, you know what I mean, out of the blue. It's something that he's probably been carrying on for a long time.
Oh yeah, no, he had that when we got him.
Right, so that's what I mean,
Yeah.
right? So if he knows that, oh, if I'm gonna do this to see if it works, if it works for him, he's just gonna keep doing it. And not only that, but he's gonna now escalate it a little bit more every time, right? Because if it didn't work when he muzzle punched you, if it didn't work when he just growled at you, now he's got to do something else because he wants to win. You see what I mean? But
Well, he in that case, in those cases, most of them he didn't get what he wanted directly. So I don't know that it really did. Right? It's hard to say what worked and what didn't.
Doesn't mean that he's not gonna try.
Right. No, I'm just saying. But he did. I'm just letting you know he really didn't win the way I see it. I could be seeing it wrong, but he didn't get what he was trying to achieve.
We're not even
almost every case.
You know, we're not even. I'm not even talking about that. The point is that he bit. We want to know what he bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Whether he won or didn't win, or we got to show him who's alpha or not. The point is that he bit. You know, the question is why would he do that?
Right.
Well, that's why, right? Because he understands, like David said, he knows how to resource guard his food. So I'm gonna do it with everything, right? And it's not gonna stop there. He's gonna find something else to do it with. He's gonna find a person. Or he's gonna find a shoe.
That's why he's being returned. I mean,
Right.
I worry that he's gonna hurt one of us really bad, or that a little kid's gonna have food or something he wants, and he's so much bigger. He's like, okay, I'm the alpha here, and the kid's gonna scream, and he's gonna, okay, I'm taking it.
Yeah, once they're in a fixated state,
Yeah.
it's all instinct at that point until they, like, if you ever see a dog that's in full drive, his eyes just are different, right?
Yeah. I know we took him to the his first trip to the vet. I could see it when they told the vet we need to put a muzzle on him because of the issues that he's had, and you could see it that he was in that state of. It's kind of a fearful state too, where his ears go back and you can see it in his eyes. Like I know in almost every case when it's potentially coming.
He's about to knock out.
Yeah, like he's fighting so hard mentally that he's just tiring himself out. And like you see the difference between his downs now, right, versus the down that he was trying to give us before. Right. Now it's getting more and more like to the point of. But that's the thing. It's like I always ask people, and we always ask people in here. It's like we spend so much time telling them to do something. When they don't do it, we make them do it, and then we reward. How many times do we go about it to where we just sit there and let him do the things that we want naturally and reward him? We don't.
No.
If he chose to sleep on his own, we don't ever tell him, good job, right? When he's not being a nuisance, we don't ever praise him and tell him that he's doing a good job or reward him for that.
I do all the time. I actually do all the time when he's being a good dog and I'm trying to work and he's being quiet or sitting or playing with his toy. I actually do tell him he's a good boy all the time and pet him.
And so, but like, you know, naturally, he's just got a lot of things that he has to work out of him, right? And like, you know, for the potential foster and whoever he's gonna be rehomed to, and it's got to be somebody that's gonna have a lot of patience to work with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Consistency and repetition is gonna be his biggest advocate versus compulsive training, where I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna put a leash on you and I'm gonna dominate you and I'm gonna show you that this is what you have to do. It's not gonna work with him because he's already fearful, he's already anxious. So we have to build that confidence back up. We have to build that engagement. We have to build value. He has to understand where's that food coming from, and not from the bowl, but it's actually coming from us, right? And every time he's backing up, we gotta just push him out there just to let him know that everything's okay and not make a big deal about it until he relaxes. So a lot of that just takes a lot of time. Is he a lost cause? No dog is ever a lost cause. They just have to find the right situation.
That's one of the things that we started with his guarding thing in the beginning, which I don't know if that's a good or bad idea, is but we would actually feed him by hand.
Yeah,
That's good.
That's a very
we
good
would
idea.
give him just give him a handful at a time, feed him by hand, not give him a bowl full of food.
Yeah.
And then we use the bowl, and then what I would do, which I did some research on the resource guiding.